What is up, guys? Welcome back to CageChat MMA. We're here for, of course, the UFC Vegas 36 preview. We've got an outrageous amount of British talent and UK talent on the card tonight. Of course, this card was supposed to be in London in the O2, but because of COVID and the restrictions and the lack of preparation time, it got moved over to Vegas, of course, and that meant that we lost some of the fighters that were supposed to be making appearances tonight. But unfortunately, or fortunately, more should I say, we've still got a cracking card tonight, and it's on at a perfect time for us UK fans and European fans. 7 p.m. On BT, and obviously 9 p.m. the main card kicks off for us as well, with some staggering fights on it. Of course, topping that bill is Darren Till versus Derek Brunson. Now, Darren Till's making his return. No, he fought on Fight Island last year, of course, against Robert Whittaker. Went a very close decision with Robert Whittaker, the former champion, but I did think Whittaker had done enough to win that fight. But you saw the antics after the cage. Those two very friendly, respectful, having a laugh, saying that Whittaker was always trying to predict where and when Till was going to strike, and his feints were phenomenal on that night. But it was just that the former champion was a little bit too much. Now the former champion is supposed to be fighting Adesanya, but there's been a bit of chat going into this with Eugene Behrman, and of course Israel Adesanya is saying that if Till puts out a performance tonight and maybe gets one more win, maybe he might skip the queue ahead of Robert Whittaker, especially with that fight in question because of the lockdown situation in both Australia and New Zealand. It looks like that fight's going to happen in 2022, and as we know, Adesanya is someone who likes to stay very competitive. He's already fought twice this year against Jan Blachowicz in that light heavyweight contest that he lost, and of course he beat Paulo Costa, so he's looking for his next competition. Obviously, 2 weeks ago we had Kelvin Gastelum versus Jared Cannonier. Cannonier coming out the thick during that one. Cannonier, the almost third or fourth on that list now. Obviously, he's a fresh competitor for Israel Adesanya, as is Darren Till. Hence why we're expecting or anticipating these guys to win, to give Adesanya a fresh matchup, because he's beaten the likes of Paulo Costa, Robert Whittaker already. He's beaten the top of the tree, so to speak, and Marvin Vettori we add to that list too. So we need some fresh fruit for Adesanya to have a go at, and a win tonight to Darren Till is not only a need and a must to his career, but it livens up the division again, because it's stagnated at the top. There's a little bit of a level discrepancy between the top competitors and those between 5 down to 8 or 9. Those are still on the come up, so to speak, and that includes both Derek Brunson and Darren Till, who are fighting tonight. Now, having said that, Darren Till is certainly capable of being on the level of an Adesanya, other Robert Whittaker, other Marvin Vettori. I think actually he's probably ahead of Marvin Vettori as a whole package, which is how fights have played out, and the activity of Marvin Vettori has put him a step ahead so far. Of course, he's had 4 fights cancelled. Last year he had 4 fights cancelled, and this year 2 apiece. One of those being Robert Whittaker, that got moved, of course, to that main event from the 15th of August to the 25th. He was supposed to fight Jack Manson back in December, had to pull out of that. Marvin Vettori, he broke his collarbone, didn't he? It's going to be interesting to see how that has recovered and how that plays out tonight. And the Derek Brunson one was supposed to be 14th of August, but that's been pushed back to tonight, of course, in the UFC Apex. So he's not had the greatest of 2021. It's his first fight, and you expected him to have fought once and just going into a second fight, but of course, no. Sometimes in this sport, things don't play out that way. But he gets to step into cage tonight. He's looked he looked great on the scales yesterday when he made weight. I think it was 186, 185.5. So he's got his weight under control. Of course, there was maybe question marks over him at welterweight, but certainly no question marks over him at middleweight. He's got an absolutely huge frame, but we'll take a look at the tape in a minute. But he's in the perfect weight class for him now. It's just about getting those wins under his belt, because he has 3 losses in his last. That other win being a split decision against Kelvin Gastelum. Of course, he won a good decision loss against Jared Cannonier. Of course, he lost to Robert Whittaker. So he needs to, Darren Till decides he needs to step up a level and be looking to beat the likes of Whittaker's, the Adesanyas, the Paulo Costas of this division. And a win tonight is very much needed. He's coming up against Derek Brunson. Of course, Derek Brunson is on a fantastic win streak at the moment. He's in the best spell of his career, you could say. He's pushing through a late title charge, of course. Many thought title aspirations were done for him, especially when he lost to the champion Israel Adesanya. If you remember that beat down at UFC 230, Adesanya and Brunson looked levels apart, but slowly and surely Derek Brunson's been coming back to the forefront of the middleweight division. Obviously, that last performance against Kevin Holland, who stepped in on short notice, he took Kevin Holland down and made it quite simple work for him, of course. So you're going to be expecting him to tonight, anticipate the striking, the Muay Thai of Darren Till and look to get in and get those takedowns and really hold this fight to the ground. Of course, they're in the UFC Apex again, where the fight with Kevin Holland was, so he'll be used to that environment, that situation, that smaller cage, where obviously Darren Till's last fight was in that bigger cage. Obviously, he's at Team Cowboy, and I don't know what the parameters of his training is in terms of the cage size, but you definitely expect Derek Brunson to feel a little bit more at home, which is the complete opposite of what we was expecting with it being at UFC London. Now, had it been in the O2 tonight, you'd have a packed out O2 with the English fans and predominantly Liverpool fans, with Paddy Pimblett and Molly McCann fighting on the card. It would have been very Scouse heavy in that O2 arena tonight. It would have been absolutely rocking. And obviously, you would have had some of Mancunian fans with Leroy Murphy, who's unfortunately not on the card. So it would have been a fantastic atmosphere for Darren Till, similar to how he fought Masvidal. He lost that fight, and obviously Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. It would have been an atmosphere similar to that, which I think he feeds off. I think he needs a big crowd, a big performance. Obviously, again, that fight against Kevin Gastelum at 244, he spoke about that comeback. It was his first fight after being knocked out to Masvidal, and the fear and the anxiety that he had going out into that crowd. So who knows? Maybe it works better in his favor, but I definitely thought and think he would have been a lot better off having that home support behind him tonight going to DO2, which he's going to have a definitely a lot quieter UFC Apex. So there's going to be 200-300, and it does create some good noise in there. It's been a good couple of weeks of fights in there in terms of the reaction. But Brunson, he's on a 4-fight win streak, Elias Theodorou, Ian Heinisch, and of course his most two recent wins, the most credible wins in terms of putting up a title challenge against Edmund Shabazian and Kevin Holland. We finished Edmund Shabazian quite convincingly in that third round. He had a very dominant second round also, where the fight could have got stopped. I do expect this fight to go the distance tonight. If Brunson comes out the victor, I think Darren Till has the methods to get victories, and it could be a similar path to Adesanya. If Darren Till, pulls off a fantastic finish here in the first or second round, he can then build on that title challenge, and he's a little bit further ahead than Adesanya was. But if you remember when Adesanya got that win, I believe they picked up the Anderson Silva fight next, and of course he then went on to fight the interim champion, and of course beat Robert to go for the undisputed in September of 2019. And he's had a phenomenal year, and he's on 3 defenses, looking to book his 4th very soon. Albeit the move up to 205 didn't quite work out for him. He's certainly still the king at 185, and Darren Till certainly should be looking at him. They also had their back and forth on Twitter and social media. Very friendly, very sort of competitive, good-natured back and forth also. But you're looking at the same sort of journeys here. Obviously Adesanya's become a superstar in this sport in such a short amount of time. Can Darren Till do the same with that Liverpool support that he's got, the English support he's got? Can he become that sort of same level? He's probably a step or two below, but he's definitely on that path. He's still a lot younger than Adesanya. Obviously, Adesanya's 33, 34. Darren Till's only 28, so he's coming into that peak of his powers. Really, he's been in the sport a long time now, and in the UFC a long time. 4 or 5 years now. So we've seen him grow up in the cage, and he looks like he's more mature. It looked like there was a time where he may have lost his not lost his head, so to speak, but maybe where the fame and the notoriety maybe got a little bit too much for him, obviously with the title challenge, the Masvidal fight, of course. But he seems grounded, and by all accounts, he's training the same methods and the same ways he was on the come up. Living by himself, keeping himself very reserved, no partying, etc. He seems dialed into this one, and I think we're going to see a good Darren Till here. We're going to see a revitalized Darren Till, and we're going to see a very dangerous Darren Till looking to come in and get the kill and really stamp his authority on this middleweight division. Now, to have a look at Taz tape, 22-7 gets 18-3-1. 6-1 is Derek Brunson, only an inch taller than Darren Till. He's got 2.5 inch reach advantage and an inch advantage in leg reach also as well. So he's the bigger guy, which is incredible considering you see the size of Darren Till. He's huge for this division also, albeit he's a welterweight coming up to middleweight. But the middleweight division, is the division he should have been fighting in from the start. So it is a tough one to really look at. I do think Darren Till gets it done within 3. If you're going through a Derek Brunson win, I think that's probably because he's got the takedowns nailed on. I think maybe Darren Till's not throwing the volume or the velocity that he needs to get the win tonight, because if he throws his hands, he's got very incredible hands. He dropped Masvidal, who's got a good chin, despite the knockout against Usman. Many people saying he has no chin. Masvidal's a tough competitor. Darren Till can definitely throw hands, and at this 185 power weight, Kelvin Gastelum has a strong chin as well. We saw that against the fight against Adesanya, Whitaker, and Cannonieri this weekend. 2 weekends ago. He's a tough competitor. But if Brunson can get in there, get the takedowns, maybe even get a submission if Darren Till starts to tire, similar to how Woodley beat Darren Till. Albeit that was Darren Till coming in too quickly, and Woodley using the experience to get the takedown and submit him. Derek Brunson could definitely win in that fashion, and it would be a great win for Derek Brunson. Obviously, in this period, it would be the biggest name and win under his belt in this run that he's gone on. But equally for Darren Till, he has to win tonight, because if he loses, he's four losses in his last 5 fights. Now, of course, he's not going to get cut, but it does add a lot of pressure to him and his title aspirations. He's coming out and saying he is going to be champion, he is going to do this, and he is going to do that, and he needs to start backing it up, because all that bravado and that front and that cheek that he has that makes him so popular. If he's not winning fights, people are going to start to turn away and maybe turn off from his fights. We've seen it with Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor put his money where his mouth is, 85-90% of the time, especially when it's come up. Anything he pretty much said, he did. But now we're on the back end of that. Now he's coming out and saying he's going to look the best he's ever done. He's going to smoke Dustin Poirier. He's going to do this and do that, and he's not coming out and performing to that level. So, he's talking the talk, but he's not walking the walk. And it's time now for Darren Till to match the talk and walk his path as well. On a lot of people's money, especially in the UK and England, have him down as the next champion, the next UFC champion from England, and he wants to be that second place, following in the footsteps of Michael Bisping. We've got Leon Edwards, we've got Darren Till, we've got Paddy Pimblett now, although he's going to be 4, 5, 6 wins away because of the division he's in. We've got Tom Aspinall fighting tonight, we've got Leroy Murphy in that featherweight division taking on killers. So we have got this plethora of British talent coming through the ranks, and you want to be the next guy to be that second English UFC champion, and maybe the first of many coming into this sort of 5-6 year period. Obviously, Molly McCann's fighting tonight as well in the flyweight division too. So there's someone's going to have that flag, and someone just needs to put that flag in the ground and become the UFC champion. You've got some Mokayev coming through. We've got over in Northern Ireland and Ireland, you've got Ian Gary looking absolutely phenomenal. England definitely needs that sort of marker, and Darren Till is that for us. It's just time for him to put his money where his mouth is and become undisputed champion, and win tonight certainly puts him in the right direction. Having said that, the division that he's in with Paulo Costa, Adesanya and Robert Whitaker, it's definitely no easy feat. But a win tonight, he could definitely be on the title challenge. If he beats maybe Jared Cannonier, maybe put Jared Cannonier and him together, both coming off the wins, both looking for title challenges, and then we look at 2022, we see what happens between Whitaker and Adesanya, and we put the rematch maybe in Anfield, next summer. You do Darren Till versus Adesanya in Anfield in the summer, make sure it's nice and warm and in the heat of England in the English summer, despite we don't have the great summers as it is. But you put it in Anfield, you set it out, you put Paddy on that card, you put Ian Gary on that card, because we're going to have a lot of Irish fans flying over. You put Molly McCann, you put Leroy on that card. You may even put Mokayev, debut on that card, especially if he becomes brave champion within the next 12 months, which is very likely. UFC comes to Anfield, you're going to have some incredible fights that could potentially book up next year. Jake Hadley was supposed to be fighting on Contender Series, could definitely put him on that card. So yes, and Till could be the catalyst for that card, that event. Obviously, Dublin was supposed to have the UFC, was supposed to have the UFC London. That was the first card that got cancelled before the whole COVID situation, and of course it was supposed to be happening tonight. So there'd be no better way for Darren Till to put a mark down on this division, get a win tonight, a solid win, and go beat Jared Cannonier and put that title shot for Anfield next year, like he said he was going to do. And let's have a party. And it's almost not sickening, but obviously UK fight fan, of course, we have to back these guys. But being a United fan, at least, you don't want to, if this was a different sport and we're seeing these Liverpudlians perform as they do, I would probably not want to back them so much, because of the nature of this sport and the period of time we're in with this sport, especially in the UK. I want to see these guys go and smash it, and I hope Darren Till gets that victory tonight, as I do with Tom Aspinall, of course. He's taken on the co-main event, his first co-main event, and he's taken the UFC by storm, obviously, in that heavyweight division. It's evolving very much the the division is much more technical, much more skilled, rather than coming in there and being the heavy-handed sort of fighter, I guess you could say, with the heavy right over hand, the left hand, the wrestlers. Now we're seeing this change. We saw it with Cyril Gane, we've seen it with Francis Ngannou, albeit he's a very talented striker. He's got, plenty of areas in his game where he's strong. Cyril Gane probably to be in the pinnacle of that. And maybe John Jones once he makes that foray into the heavyweight division. But Tom Aspinall is definitely someone who we could put title hopes on, title aspirations on. He's someone who's coming into this sport. Now he's 14-2, or 10-2, sorry. Last win against Andrei Arlovski, that fantastic submission in round 2. He's not gone outside of round 2 in the UFC. He's been here for 3 fights. Beat Jake Collier, Alan Baudot in the first round, but beating the former champion Arlovski, the Pitbull, Hall of Famer. Sorry, that was a fantastic win for him. Now, of course, tonight he's supposed to fight Sergey Pavlovich. That fight got cancelled. They've now taken on Sergey Spivak, which might be even better for him because Sergey Spivak, he's not the most talented, most skilled, but he is ranked, as is Tom Aspinall. Of course, Tom Aspinall is ranked 1 place above him, but he's someone who's very tough. He brings the fight. His last fight, I remember, was quite a bloody mess, a brawl, a battle in the octagon that he came through against Alex Olenek. It is a Hall of Famer as well, and Jared Van Der Rijt. I think that's the fight that comes to mind, where they were absolutely, it was a bloodbath almost in there. But Sergey Spivak, he's definitely someone who can bring a good fight, but I do expect Tom Aspinall not to make light work of it, because that would be disrespectful, but to come out the other side almost, unscathed. I think he's going to get the better of his opponent tonight, get a 4th successive victory, and it'd be interesting to see what he does with that, because obviously, this division isn't the most stacked of divisions. You can climb up the rankings quite quickly, quite largely, especially if you make the right calls outs and the right presence. We've seen it with Cyril Gane and Jairzinho Rozenstruik comes to mind, who have had, been propelled to the top of that division very quickly. Now, for Cyril Gane, it's worked out. He's looked fantastic and remained undefeated. But for Rozenstruik, I think he'll be off a bit more than he could chew, especially between that fight between Alistair Rotheram and going through to Ngannou. Of course, Alistair Rotheram, he was very lucky to win that. He was down all 5 rounds, in my opinion, on the scorecard, and obviously he pulled out that knockout in the very last second. And then he called out Francis Ngannou, which is as much admirable as it is through his bravery, it's stupid through his no one wants to call out Francis Ngannou because he's the scariest man in the division. And of course it set Rozenstruik back, but maybe for the better of his career, because it set back it put him in his place in this division, so to speak, with all due respect to him. So you have to be careful, and Tom Aspinall is going it the right way. He's making the right noises in the cage. He might need to pick it up a little bit outside the cage, but definitely he wins tonight, goes into the top 10, and then who knows where he goes from there. I think, he'll be on a fantastic win streak, 4-fight win streak in the UFC. So yeah, a win tonight would certainly put him up in that upper echelon of the heavyweight division, but I don't want to see him get rushed. Maybe nurturing a bit like Sean O'Malley's getting nurtured, or maybe he's been over-nurtured now and needs that push up into the top 15, the top 10 of that division, of the bantamweight division. But I definitely would look at him and not want to go down that same path that Cyril Gane. Rozenstruik is build yourself up, because you're still quite very raw. There's a lot of competitors in this division. You've got the Augusto Sakai, you've got the Curtis Blades, who's probably a level or 2 fights away from Tom Aspinall. Maybe, you're looking at Alexei Olenek even. You're looking at those sort of those names, those characters. Build your resume up, build your CV up, get some minutes under your belt in the cage, and then start pushing to title challenges. Because we've got the likes of Ngannou, we've got the Stipe Miocic, we've got that sort of trifecta of opponents to work out between Ngannou, Gane, Jones, and what happens with Stipe. Of course, that's if John Jones even decides to step into cage, but he said June 22, so we have to take his word for that. Tom Aspinall versus Walt Harris, Blagoy, Ivan with Krista Kaus, Marcin Tybura, Jamil Abdurakhimov. Those are all fantastic fights. And then you've got the upper echelons from Rozenstruik up to Alexander Volkov, Curtis Blades, Stipe Miocic, the interim champion, of course, Ngannou, and those two should hopefully fight at the end of this year on that December card, if not the January card, going into next year. But a win tonight for Aspinall against Spivak. It's a bit difficult one because obviously he's above him in the rankings. He can't, overtake him in the rankings, but he can definitely put himself on notice and maybe book a fight with the Krista Kauses or the Walt Harrises of this division and take it brick by brick. But I am expecting Tom Aspinall to get the win tonight. He's 6'5", reaches 78. Of course, Sergey Spivak, 26 years of age, still very young, 6'3", 78-inch reach, of course. But I don't see this one going the distance at all. I think we see a Tom Aspinall win in the second round. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, of course. And make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. We're over 100 subscribers now. We're going to 150. We've got David Zawada on this card, of course, against Alex Morono in the welterweight division. But we're going to move on to the light heavyweight division between Khalil Rountree and Modestas Bukauskas. Now, Modestas Bukauskas came in and had that fantastic UFC debut, but then he got third to the Lions, and he's had some very tough opponents in Jimmy Crute and Mikhail Alekshuk, of course, which was a split decision loss, a very close one. Jimmy Crute was a knockout, of course. That was a fight that got very heated very quickly and both back and forth, and obviously Jimmy Crute came out the victor on that one. But former Cage Warriors champion Khalil Rountree is probably the perfect opponent for him tonight, but with the caveat of he has to win this fight, because Khalil Rountree is a fantastic name, a fantastic fighter. He's moved over to Tiger Muay Thai, been training fantastically, looked phenomenal a couple of fights ago against Eric Anders. You remember that fight where he just kicked the legs out of Eric Anders? That always sticks in my mind now when you mention Khalil Rountree. And that was only 2 fights ago. Before that, or after that, sorry, he's lost to Ian Cutelaba, Marcin Praggnio. Solid losses, solid competitors that he's lost to, should I say. So both of them coming on 2 fight loss streaks. But I do think Modestas Bukauskas gets the job done, of course. Lithuanian, but very much trained in the UK. Down in London, I believe he's been training, so he's fantastic. He seems like a nice guy, a very likable guy to get behind, the Baltic Gladiator. Only 27 years of age himself. But as we've seen with Reece McKee, who was very unfortunately, got third to Hamzat Chimaev. They got given very difficult opponents in the debuting stage of his UFC career, so to speak. He's got cut and he's now fighting back in Cage Warriors, which is fantastic to see. But I lost the night from Bukauskas. Maybe could see him also get cut. I'd hope not. I'd hope UFC recognises the fights that they've given him. But if he's not passing the tests, then maybe they do see him surplus to requirements tonight. Should he lose to Khalil Rountree? But I think the Rountree, it's interesting to see where his career is at right now, because there's a lot of talk last year of him retiring in November. He was going to retire, then he signed a new contract. So where is he in his stage now of his career? He is on that older side, 31, so he's coming into his peak still, but he's been through a few wars himself. He's tested out multiple weight divisions, of course, but he looks good. He looked good in that fight against Eric Anders, should I say. So yeah, I do think Modestas Bukauskas gets the job done tonight, and hopefully he can get on the microphone and put in a good performance on there as well to really cut himself out there and make himself stand out, because he's a fantastic lad and a fantastic competitor. So yes, I think that's a great fight on the main card, of course. So you can have a lot of eyes on him. It's also prime time in the UK and in the US. I think it's US, it must be about 1 p.m. over there, 2 p.m. maybe. So it'll be 4 p.m. by the time he fights. So fantastic time for him to get out there and put a name on himself. We've also got the debut in Paddy Pimblett. Now this one's been the talk of the town, so to speak, going into this week. Paddy Pimblett, someone who's been expecting to make his debut in the UFC for the past 2, 3, 4 years now. Of course, he's had up and downs in his career. He had a couple of hand surgeries this year, or this last year, should we say, that stopped him from fighting. He's always been very active, but he had back in 2019, he had a pretty bad time with injuries, and of course his opponents in 2020 missing weight twice, I believe, to the point that fight didn't take place against Davide Martinez, although he did run that one back in March of this year. Of course, against Davide Martinez, that was his last fight at Cage Warriors before getting announced to fight in the UFC banner tonight. Of course, no orange shorts, which fans, at least UK fans, are very sad to see, because he's become, the orange shorts are part of Paddy Pimblett, so to speak, as is the drum and bass walkouts, which I'm hoping we see tonight in the UFC Apex. I think the American side of Twitter that haven't seen him so much, it's going to be interesting to see what the feedback is from that, to see how they react to Paddy Pimblett. But he's well known over there. He's been on Ariel Helwani's show a few times. Helwani's great with the Cage Warriors guys, and you see like Brendan Lott then get a lot of exposure over there, which is fantastic. We need to see more of the UK guys getting more spotlight, in the US, so to speak. Especially that's what they're predominantly fighting as well. But he's coming off two wins here. Paddy Pimblett, Decky Dalton, and Davide Martinez. Prior to that, he'd lost to Steely Ray, albeit in a grappling match. Though Steely Ray did call out Paddy Pimblett, saying that they're both back in the UFC and they run it back. And maybe that's a good way to go down, especially as I mentioned, you get a card in the UK, in Liverpool or in London. More than likely it'll be London, or that should be Liverpool. That would be a great fight in a sold out Anfield. So he's 3-1 in his last four. So I'm back in that unanimous decision loss where he came back. Obviously, Cage Warriors 96. He came back a bit too soon, and I believe he broke his hand in that fight. That was in the September of 2018, but no, he was out 2019. No thought of his own, and he thought once in 2020. So he's looking to be a bit more active, and I'm excited to see what happens. He's opening up the main card, of course, tonight, which is fantastic. Obviously he's got a huge following in the UK, and to see that be translated over to the US, I think is fantastic. But he is up against Luigi Vendramini, butchered that name, 9-2, the Italian stallion fighting out of Brazil. Only 25 years of age himself, so these two still very young raw prospects, albeit Paddy's had a lot more fights, 9-2 up against 16 and 3, of course, so the experience does favour Paddy Pimblett, and he does have the capability to pull out something tremendous and spectacular, the flying arm triangles, of course, that we've seen. Paddy Pimblett certainly puts on a show similar to the likes of Conor McGregor, who's been referenced to in the past, of course being a featherweight world champion in the Cage Warriors brand, of course. And also shout out to what Cage Warriors have done, fantastic work, and obviously they've got their trilogy series. They say the last one, I hope it's not the last one, because the trilogy series, the Cage Warriors, has been phenomenal. They're going to get back to, I'm sure, regularly, a month or two each event now, rather than having 3 in one space. Obviously they're branching out to San Diego. That was a tremendous success for them, but one of their alumni are fighting tonight in Paddy Pimblett. Well, a few of them are, from Monty McCann, Tom Aspinall, Melissa Spakauskas, all fighting tonight have gone through Cage Warriors brand, so it's a great night for them also, and shows what they're doing. But Luigi is coming off of the loss to the Rasihan. Prior to that, he's 2-2 in the last four fights. He beat Jesse Ayari, Eligius Zaleski lost to via the flying knee, and before that he beat Lucas Urico on Samurai Fight 1. So he's had 3 fights in the UFC now, but he's 1-2. So it's a good litmus test to see where Paddy Pimblett is at, in my opinion. And of course, that does round out the main card. Of course, featuring in the prelims, we've got the Ji-Hong Kim versus Molly McCann. Of course, Molly McCann 10-4 now. She's not had the best of luck in recent times, not the best of performances, so to speak, but she's still certainly, former Cage Warriors flyweight champion. She looked a lot better in her development and her growth as a fighter and as a person, as very, very much shone through it over the last year or two. She's an author now. She wrote and has published a book. She's done tremendous things for her community. She's definitely someone to be very respectful and put on a pedestal in terms of mixed martial arts as well, especially being the first English woman to win in the UFC. But she lost her last 2 fights against Tyler Santos and Lara Paracopio, 2 unanimous decision losses. So she does need to get a win again tonight. Prior to those 2 losses, she was on a 3-fight win streak against Priscilla Cachoeira, Ariana Lipskiva, and Diana Belbita. All again unanimous decision wins. So she can get out here tonight and get a finish. That would be fantastic for her. She's 10-4. Of course, flyweight division, we see who's at the top in terms of Valentina Shevchenko, but you could certainly make your way up through those rankings pretty quickly once you start getting 3 or 4 or 5 wins. You see the likes of Casey O'Neill fighting from Scotland. It's a fantastic time. You've got Joanne Calderwood, of course. I'd love to see Joanne Calderwood versus Molly McCann one day. I just want to see that English-Scottish rivalry inside the cage, whether it's in Glasgow or London or Liverpool. I'd sign up for that any day. I think a lot of UK fans would also. But to see that fight, we need to see Molly McCann win. And I think we do see her win tonight against Kim, who's 9-3-2. Her last loss was against Alexa Grasso. Of course, a lot of people very high on Alexa Grasso. Prior to that, she'd beaten Nadia Kasim, and obviously before that, she lost to Antonia Shevchenko, the sister to the flyweight champion Valentina, of course. So she's 1-2 in her last 3. She's 2-2 in her last 4. So this is a good performance and a good test of Molly McCann to get back in the win column. And again, I think we see her get back in the win column. I think there's going to be something special tonight, especially with the Liverpudlian nature of this card. It's a shame that it's not in Anfield. It should be in Anfield, or at least the Liverpool Echo Arena, but unfortunately due to COVID, that wasn't possible. They was going to put it in the O2 because we lost that card, of course, in 2020 and obviously 2021 because of no fans and the lack of travel. But tonight's card really should be in Liverpool, in the Echo Arena and or Anfield. This one of those nights. If you remember UFC Dublin a couple of years ago, well, a few years ago now, 2013, 2014, what that did for Irish MMA. I think for Liverpool MMA, in Cage where you've got Nathan Fletcher and the likes of those guys coming through, if you'd have put this card in Anfield or, as I mentioned, at least the Echo Arena, it would have been going off there. And, they are very, the fan base in Liverpool is very, very supportive and very energetic, and they get behind their city and the people of their city very nicely. And that pains me to give them so much of the compliment as United fan, but we move on. But yes, Molly McCann needs to get that victory tonight. I hope she does. And to talk about the rest of the card, of course, we've got Jack Shaw undefeated, 14-0 against Ludwig Scholinian. His third or fourth opponent now for Jack Shaw. He's lost 2 opponents coming into this fight card. But we expect him to get the business. 14-0, former Cage Warriors champion again. Also, I forgot to mention him in the list. My apologies. But again, a fantastic fighter and a fantastic, that bantamweight division is absolutely stacked. And the fact that he's 14-0 on this card, he's not further up the card. He's probably expected to be in the main card, so to speak. But again, a fantastic competitor. Expect him to get the job done tonight. Charles Jourdain versus Julian Rosa. Unfortunately, Leroy Murphy isn't fighting on this one. He should have been, but due to visa issues that we've seen a couple of, Jake Hadley had that same question with visa issues, meaning he lost out on his contender series spot. But Leroy certainly lost out tonight, especially making his US debut. We see the work he put on in Manchester top team and representing Manchester, of course. He's been fantastic in that featherweight division since he made his debut 2.5 years ago, year and a half ago maybe, under that Khabib card against Poirier at 242. So yes, it's unfortunate to see that, but of course Julian Rosa steps on a short notice against Charles Jourdain. Again, Charles Jourdain definitely someone who's looked good in that featherweight division. You got Daicha Lingambula against Marc-Andre Barriot. Again, another late notice appointment for Barriot coming in tonight. Jonathan Martinez and versus Marcelo Rojo opens up the card. But we lost an incredible amount. We lost Tom Aspinall versus Sergey Pavlovich. Jack Shaw has had 2 fighters change. Obviously, Magomed Ankalaev versus Dolkan Ozdemir was supposed to be on this, but got rescheduled. Tyler Santos versus Mandy Bomb, who's training over at SBGI, and Demartia Casey versus Rafael Alves. And of course, the big one for the Scottish fans, Paul Craig and Alexander Gustafsson, of course. They were doing a great fight, but Gustafsson got injured. So yeah, this is one of those cards where it's going to be a fantastic card nonetheless. But a couple dropouts and location changes certainly made this. It's brought it down from a 10 on the Richter scale down to a 9 or an 8. But yeah, I would have been mouth-watering if this been in Liverpool with who were on the card and had the names that we're supposed to have it stayed on there. But this is the fight game, and this is what happened. And who knows? Maybe a winter night until maybe we can get a Liverpool or a London in December in the Echo Arena. Who knows? So yes, I'm going to leave it there, guys, for the fights are getting underway. Make sure to drop this video a like, of course. Put your predictions down in the comments down below. Who's going to get a win? Darren Till or Derek Brunson? Go follow us on social at CageChat MMA. And I'll see you guys on the next video.